Good afternoon and welcome to our today's midday briefing. We have colleagues here in the room, we are online as well as live on EBS. And today is Thursday, the 5th of August. We have one announcement to make today, and that is for Sonia on education issues.
Good afternoon. Today, the Commission put forward a proposal for a Council recommendation on blended learning to support high-quality and inclusive primary and secondary education. Blended learning in formal education and training is the term used to describe when a school, educator, or a student takes more than one approach to the learning process. Blended learning can be a key element to improve inclusiveness of education, especially because of its flexibility. The Commission is proposing short-term measures to address existing gaps exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. We are outlining a way forward for blending learning environments and tools in primary and secondary education and training, helping to build education systems that are more resilient and fit for the challenges that we are facing nowadays. These measures could enable better education in remote and rural areas and for those residing in hospitals and care centers or people that are part of the traveler community. For more information and details on the proposal, you can read our press release. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Sonia. Et nous pouvons maintenant commencer avec vos questions. Please. We start in the room. Go ahead.
Got it now. Lorne Cook from the Associated Press. A migration question, please. There are several hundred more migrants in the Ocean Viking ship in the Mediterranean at the moment and waiting for a port of disembarkment. I wonder if the Commission has anything to say about this specific issue, given that it's a new one. There was one just a few weeks ago as well, and it looks like being a summer that this will continually happen. And additionally, the Italian government is keen to have an extra Justice and Home Affairs Council, and I wonder if the Commission has anything new, anything different it can bring to the table that might finally resolve this question of search and rescue.
Thank you. That would be a question for Adalbert.
Good afternoon, Lorne, and welcome to the physical press room. About the situation in the central Mediterranean, I do not believe I have a new element to bring. The Commission follows the situation, of course, very, very closely. We're in very close contact with the Italian authorities and also the authorities of the other member states that are concerned. We of course know what is going on and what the situation is with in relation to the latest rescues. As ever, we are ready to coordinate a relocation operation upon request by the member states as soon as the port of disembarkation has been assigned and people have been disembarked. And more broadly, when it comes to our political responsibility that we share with the member states for the issue of search and rescue, I can only refer you to everything that we've put on the table as part of the new Pact on Migration and Asylum, which I believe you know very well, but just as a quick reminder, it includes notably aspects such as a solidarity mechanism that would ensure that people who are rescued can be relocated to other member states as appropriate. A contact group bringing together all the different stakeholders who are responsible for search and rescue issues, which has already met for the first time, as well as cooperation with countries of origin and transit, and cooperation with other coastal countries in order also to strengthen their capacities in terms of search and rescue. So there is a panoply of different measures, and from our perspective, it is really urgent to advance on the new Pact on Migration and Asylum, and we very much welcome the cooperation that we have with the European Parliament and the Council on that.
Thank you. We'll continue with questions on the issue of migration. Please keep your hand raised if it is on that. Christian.
Oui, bonjour Adalbert. En fait, comme tu l'as dit, il n'y a rien de nouveau. Je veux dire, ça fait maintenant plus d'1 an qu'on a le même problème. Les navires comme l'Océan Viking continuent de récupérer des naufragés et on part dans un nouvel épisode. Il faut qu'on détermine le port de débarquement, il faut qu'on se mette d'accord sur le nombre de relocalisations. Ma question, elle est combien de temps ça va durer? Parce que, en fait, on ne peut pas avoir tous les étés le même problème et la même absence de réponse. Je veux dire, ce genre de situation, on le sait, on les appréhende chaque été. On sait qu'on a des problèmes de routes migratoires, on sait qu'on a des gens qui vont risquer leur vie, on sait qu'un certain nombre d'ONG ont pris le parti de pouvoir récupérer ces gens pour éviter qu'ils se noient. Et ensuite, on se retrouve avec le drame des ports. On ne veut pas les faire débarquer en Italie, on ne veut pas les faire débarquer à Malte. Tout le monde se renvoie le mistigris. Ça fait la une dans les journaux. Ça devient lassant parce qu'en fait, l'image qui est donnée de l'Union européenne, c'est une image d'impuissance. Ça fait plus d'1 an que vous êtes incapable de régler ce problème. Alors tu vas me dire, c'est pas notre faute. Nous, on est partie prenante, mais on n'est pas responsable. Et ils veulent pas accepter notre droit, notre pacte. Ok, mais je veux dire, il faut quand même qu'on sorte d'une situation qui est dramatique. Ma question, elle est, combien de temps ça va durer? Je sais que c'est très gênant pour toi de te poser ce genre de questions, mais ça fait des années que je suis là avec vous, chaque été, à vous poser le même genre de questions. Lorne a ouvert le jeu parce qu'on a l'Océan Viking. L'année dernière, c'était la même chose. L'année d'avant, c'était la même chose. Et quand je t'ai interpellé pour te demander si le commissaire aux migrations allait couper ses vacances et être là pour essayer de faire avancer le problème, c'était pas pour juste titiller Madame Johansson, c'est parce que c'est récurrent. Chaque année, chaque été, on a le même problème. Et chaque été, on a la même impasse. Voilà.
Merci beaucoup, Christian. Et je ne suis pas du tout gêné par tes questions. Au contraire, nous sommes là pour répondre et pour dialoguer avec vous, pour expliquer les politiques européennes. Évidemment, je pense qu'il est évident que la situation en Méditerranée est difficile et elle l'est depuis un certain moment. Il y a des responsabilités partagées, comme tu l'as soulevé. La question du sauvetage en mer est en premier lieu une responsabilité nationale, mais la Commission prend aussi ses responsabilités politiques afin de trouver une solution européenne à cette question. Et c'est pour cela que nous avons présenté un certain nombre de mesures dans le nouveau pacte sur la migration et l'asile, sur lesquelles nous travaillons avec les États membres dans un esprit constructif. Ceci dit, je pense qu'il n'y a pas une solution simple. S'assurer qu'il n'y a pas de drame humain en Méditerranée doit se faire en utilisant toute une panoplie de mesures concernant à la fois la question du sauvetage en mer, mais aussi la gestion des migrations plus largement, afin d'apporter vraiment des solutions européennes à ce problème, mais aussi en coopération avec les pays tiers, tout en restant conscient que tant qu'il y aura des problèmes partout dans le monde, il y aura aussi des personnes déplacées et il y aura des drames humains que tous les États européens, mais aussi non européens, vont devoir gérer en conformité avec leurs obligations internationales. Donc, de toute façon, la migration, et en particulier les migrations forcées et les mouvements des réfugiés, ne sont pas un problème que nous pouvons résoudre avec un coup de baguette magique. Ceci dit, je pense que l'engagement de la Commission en faveur des solutions européennes et les pas concrets que nous faisons dans cette direction, j'espère qu'il ne fait aucun doute. Et au besoin, je me ferai un plaisir de discuter avec toi du détail des mesures que nous avons proposées.
Christian, tu as une continuation à ta question?
C'est qui sont les pays qui bloquent l'adoption de ce pacte? Parce que ça fait quand même des années. Est-ce qu'on a toujours le même clivage avec les pays dits d'Europe centrale, la Hongrie, la Pologne et les autres qui ne veulent pas entendre parler de la solidarité? Est-ce que c'est ça l'écueil sur lequel vous heurtez à chaque fois pour les relocalisations? Et mon extension, en fait, on est en train d'appréhender un drame avec l'Afghanistan. Aujourd'hui, la Commission européenne, M. Borrell, a publié une déclaration. On accuse les talibans de crimes de guerre, ce qui est quand même pas quelque chose d'anodin. On s'attend à un afflux de réfugiés. Les Afghans comprennent que la situation va être très très difficile et que c'est tout le mode de vie qui avait été préparé pendant 20 ans qui est en train de craquer, et ces gens vont fuir. Donc on va avoir à nouveau des déplacés, on va avoir des camps et on va avoir des gens qui vont arriver en Turquie et ailleurs pour essayer de gagner l'Union européenne. Qu'est-ce que vous faites? Est-ce que vous êtes en train de préparer? Est-ce que vous avez une task force avec le EAS pour gérer le problème de la crise en Afghanistan? Merci.
Merci Christian. Donc, tout d'abord, ça me permet peut-être de clarifier que le nouveau pacte sur la migration et l'asile n'est pas uniquement une série de propositions législatives qui seraient restées quelque part sur la table du Parlement et du Conseil sans qu'il y ait des avancées. Le nouveau pacte est une série de mesures très concrètes qui comprend des mesures législatives ou des propositions législatives ainsi que des mesures opérationnelles, et la mise en œuvre de ce pacte est déjà en cours, en particulier en ce qui concerne la coopération avec les pays tiers. Tu l'auras vu, nous avons adopté un certain nombre de rapports et de stratégies sur différents aspects de cela, et nous travaillons en étroite coopération avec les États membres, avec évidemment le haut représentant, le service d'action extérieure, afin d'avancer sur les partenariats concrets, globaux avec les pays tiers. Donc ça, c'est un aspect important. Il y a des aspects opérationnels qui sont mis en œuvre avec en particulier le travail sur nos agences, et évidemment le travail législatif continue, il ne s'est pas arrêté. Nous avons enregistré quelques avancées très concrètes, comme notamment l'accord sur la directive carte bleue, qui a été conclu après une longue période de blocage, ou comme l'accord sur l'Agence européenne pour l'asile, qui sera aussi une avancée extrêmement importante. Donc, on ne peut pas parler d'un blocage, au contraire, c'est quelque chose qui avance. Alors, évidemment, il y a encore beaucoup de travail à faire. C'est une question compliquée. La pandémie n'a pas simplifié les choses, notamment au Conseil, en nous empêchant d'avoir des discussions face à face qui sont importantes. Donc, notre travail là-dessus continue. Ensuite, sur l'Afghanistan, je pense que Nabila sera peut-être mieux placée pour te donner des informations sur notre travail avec l'Afghanistan et les pays voisins, mais peut-être que moi je pourrais juste ajouter que déjà aujourd'hui, en termes de gestion des migrations, nous avons en place beaucoup d'outils que nous pouvons mobiliser assez rapidement afin de soutenir les États membres au besoin s'il y a des difficultés, dont notamment la présence du corps européen des gardes-frontières et des gardes-corps, pour ce qui concerne des frontières, avec l'agence, le Bureau européen d'appui en matière d'asile, qui peut fournir du soutien concret, la mobilisation de fonds européens qui sont vraiment montés en volume ces dernières années, un programme de réinstallation, etc. Beaucoup de différents éléments que nous avons déjà mis en place. Et évidemment, le nouveau pacte sur la migration et l'asile, sur lequel le travail continue.
Merci. We have a question from the room.
Fabio Fantozzi, La Presse. Yesterday, the Italian Home Affairs Minister, Lamorgese, had a call with Commissioner Johansson about this issue. Can you confirm that, and if you have any feedback from the Commissioner?
There was indeed a call between Minister Lamorgese and Commissioner Johansson. The call covered essentially three topics. First of all, the increased support of Frontex to ensure proper border management in the central Mediterranean, the question of European solidarity in the form of voluntary relocation for arrivals this summer, that is pending, of course, the agreement on all the outstanding elements of the new pact on migration and asylum, and thirdly, a possible extraordinary ministerial meeting this summer to discuss the situation at the Belarusian border as well as the situation in the central Mediterranean. These were the three topics covered in that call, and as part of it, the Commissioner agreed to continue to fully support Italy on these challenges and also to visit Tunisia together as soon as the new government is in place.
Thank you, Adalbert. We have the next questions from Regina, please.
On justice. The last report from July on the rule of law reminds Spain the lack of renewal of the Council of the Judiciary. 4 days later, 5 days later, the Association of Jueces para la Democracia, Judges for the Democracy, has sent a letter to the Commissioner of Justice, Mr. Reinders, demanding to meet him. And in this letter, they explain that the Popular Party systematically boycotts all agreements with the government to renew the current composition of the Council of Judiciary for electoral interests. First question, do you have any response on this issue from Mr. Reinders? And second question, could this situation affect the conditionality for Spain to receive the Next Generation funds?
Thanks a lot, Regina. We will first check if we have any other questions on migration issues before we move on to the rule of law. Patricia, it's on migration, please.
Thank you, Vivian. Good morning to everybody. Yes, I haven't well understood if there's going to be this ministerial meeting in the middle of August, and I haven't understood if you think that this meeting will bring a solution to what is going on in the central Mediterranean right now. I mean, what could unblock the situation? Especially if it's going to be a VTC, do you think it's gonna, make a change for any kind? Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. When it comes to this meeting, I think your question would be better addressed to the Slovenian Council Presidency that is organizing all council and ministerial meetings, apart of course, for the Foreign Affairs Council. It would be very difficult for me to say exactly what will be the outcome of any such meeting until it takes place.
Thank you very much. Did you have a question here, please?
Yeah, Mark Billy, AFP. It's migration, but might be foreign policy. It's about flights from Iraq to Belarus. If I can continue on this theme, or would you want to keep Adalbert up?
If you allow me just to check if we have other questions on migration in general. That does not... Sorry? Patricia, you have a follow-up. I'm sorry. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry. It's just that I understand that it's the Slovenian presidency, but yesterday Commissioner Johansson and Lamorgese spoke about it, so I imagine you might have an idea of whether this VTC is going to take place. And of course, you don't know the outcome, but of course you might know, I mean, what could be brought to the table in that occasion. It should be for mid-August, so in 10 days. I mean, maybe you have some new ideas. There are some new ideas to solve, to unlock this stalemate. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. For the moment, I do not have any further information to announce, as I think the first thing that would need to happen is for the presidency to convene any such meeting, and then the presidency would of course need to frame it as it normally does, in line with its responsibility. I would perhaps just maybe nuance the term of stalemate when it comes to the issue of search and rescue in the central Mediterranean. I referred to all the different aspects of the new Pact on Migration and Asylum that we put on the table. And of course, in the meantime, we also cooperate with member states when it comes to notably voluntary relocation of people who have arrived. As you know, it's been relatively difficult for us to receive pledges from member states during especially the time of the pandemic. However, this work continues, and it is not as if it were completely blocked.
Thank you. We'll still continue with the migration issues. So Jacopo, please. But I'll come back to you. No worries.
Thanks. Also, my question is actually on the flights from Iraq, so I don't know whether there is Adalbert
We will
or
just...
Nabila.
Sorry, thanks. Then we'll just allow Adalbert now to answer the question on the rule of law he had as well, and then we'll take the Iraq link.
Thank you very much. So about the renewal of the Council for the Judiciary, perhaps I will not go through the entire Commission position on this, but maybe just as a reminder, it is a concern for the Commission, and it is one that we have reiterated in the 2021 Rule of Law report. So our view on that remains unchanged. And you referred to a specific message that was sent to Commissioner Reinders on the 26th of July. I can confirm that we have received this message, and we will reply in due course.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions on the rule of law issue? This does not seem to be the case, so thank you very much, Adalbert, and please for your question on Iraq.
Mark Belly, AFP. Yeah, so the question is, apparently the EU ambassador to Iraq has said that there's a suspension for 10 days of flights from Iraq to Belarus. We understand that Iraqi migrants form the bulk of the migrants crossing over into Lithuania. Can you tell us a little bit about what pressure was applied? Well, I understand there was a letter from Commissioner Johansson last week, and Borrell tweeted something as well last week on this issue, saying that basically talks were underway. And does this alleviate somewhat the pressure for Lithuania to build a barrier, a fence, whatever it's called, with Belarus?
Thank you for your question. First of all, on the suspension on the flights, we welcome the reports on the decision about these flights or the cancellation of the flights. I wouldn't call, what I want to say is that what we're doing right now is we continue our diplomatic efforts with the Iraqi authorities at all levels. The HRVP, as you know, spoke with the Iraqi Minister of Foreign Affairs on the 27th of July, and the ES senior official met with the Iraqi ambassador yesterday. Our head of delegation on the ground maintains also his regular contacts with his counterparts, and we have technical discussions with the Iraqi Minister of Foreign Affairs have also taken place. It is extremely constructive. It is done in a very constructive spirit, and the Iraqi side conveying the willingness to cooperate and jointly address the situation. With regards to the fence that you're talking about, I don't think it's for me to answer, but for Adalbert, if he wants to come back, maybe at a later stage.
We will do it after we take the questions for you, Nabila. So Jakob, I think Regina, you had a follow. I see now that you're back with a question. Since Adalbert will come back anyway for the fence, we will come to your question back afterwards. Jacopo, please.
Thanks, and thanks, Nabila. You welcomed the reports, but I was wondering whether you're 100% sure this is going to happen, this stop, and also if you have any indication that this stop can be extended beyond August 15. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Adalbert. Thanks a lot, Jacopo. I'm always thinking of Adalbert. But as I told you, these are reports for the moment on the decision. we're following, we're monitoring, we're discussing with our with our counterparts, the Iraqis, at all levels, technical, etc. And we have, as I said earlier, constructive spirit to solve the problem. So this is what I can say, and I wouldn't want to go further on this one. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Nabila now? Please.
Yes, same problem again. I'm not sure if it falls into Adelbert's basket or yours, but I understand there was an implementing decision from the Commission in terms of visa reciprocity with Iraq, and just given that the EAS has been involved in negotiations, I just want to understand, is that off the table now? What's the status of that? Thank you.
On this one, I will ask Adalbert to come back on the podium.
We're going to have a third podium next time. Please.
Yeah, so a question following up from my colleague Christian on Afghanistan. The statement put out this morning mentioned possible war crimes in certain incidents. Could you specify what incidents you're talking about that would meet that standard?
Well, the situation, as you know, and as it was said earlier in the statement that we published, was extremely clear, I think, in the fact that there are significant escalation of violence across Afghanistan. There are intensified attacks by Taliban. We mentioned there the armed attack and the UNAMA office. We mentioned the fighting in Lashkar Gah. We mentioned civilian casualties in the attacks targeting the Kabul residents of defense, and more and more. So I don't think that I can stop at any attack here, but I think that you would have noticed that the situation in Afghanistan is really escalating, that it is extremely important for the moment to find a solution to the situation in Afghanistan, and this is why the HRVP and Commissioner Lenarčič are decided to be extremely vocal on this situation.
Follow up, please.
A follow-up on that. So there was also in the statement a call for a permanent, comprehensive ceasefire. What teeth are you putting into that call? How are you backing that up beyond a statement?
Could you repeat your question? I'm sorry.
Yes. In the statement today, there was a call by the EU, essentially, for a comprehensive and permanent ceasefire in Afghanistan. Fine words in a statement, but I was wondering what activity is the European Union, European Commission doing beyond this statement to try and secure a ceasefire?
Thank you. I mean, you know that when it comes to Afghanistan, we are very, I would say, active. And we follow very actively, I would say, the bilateral talks that are happening in Doha. I would refer you just yesterday, GSG Mora was present in Doha in the talks between its Afghan-led talks. And I would refer you to, for example, the tweets by DSG Mora, who decided to request separate meetings, for example, with members of 2 Afghan negotiating teams. The purpose, for example, of these meetings was to get an assessment by both teams of the status of the negotiations, the development on the ground, and we are following actively in the framework of the Doha talks what is happening in Afghanistan. In addition to this, we are present in Kabul. Our delegation is there. We're working on different aspects, on aids, on everything to be able to solve the situation or to reach a situation, a solution, a political solution in Afghanistan.
Thank you. Can I ask you to keep your hands raised now if it is on Afghanistan? Now up, please.
Yes, thank you. Nabila, is the EU in touch with the neighbors of Afghanistan like India, Pakistan, Iran on what to do to restore peace and security in the country? Thank you.
Thanks, Nawab. As you know, for us, a negotiated settlement accepted by the Afghan people would allow the EU and the other key international partners to remain engaged and to maintain their commitment to the Afghan people, including as development partners. So yes, we are, in the framework of Afghanistan, in touch with all possible partners who can lead us or lead to a negotiated settlement with accepted by all the Afghan people.
Thank you, Nabila. Christian? Si c'est sur Afghanistan aussi.
Oui, bien sûr, j'avais posé une question tout à l'heure et on m'avait dit que c'était Nabila, donc je reviens à la charge pour Nabila. Ma première question, Nabila, c'est est-ce que effectivement, donc c'était la question sur les réfugiés, les demandeurs d'asile, est-ce que au niveau de la délégation à Kaboul, est-ce que vous allez ouvrir une espèce de guichet pour les demandes d'asile, sachant que effectivement, ce sont des décisions nationales d'accueillir les Afghans, ceux qui ont travaillé pour les forces armées et les autres. Ça, c'est ma première question. Ma deuxième question. Je suis très gêné. Je veux dire, comment est-ce qu'on peut accepter des négociations avec des gens qu'on accuse de crimes de guerre? Je veux dire, les talibans, depuis le début, on joue au chat et à la souris de tous les côtés, que ce soit les Américains, que ce soit les Européens au niveau de l'OTAN, les Européens au niveau de l'UE. Je veux dire, aujourd'hui, on est passé dans une graduation. Le mot choisi par M. Borrell et M. Lenarčič n'est pas anodin. Crime de guerre, ça veut dire que ce sont des gens infréquentables, avec lesquels on ne peut pas négocier et qui devraient être bannis de la table de négociation. Parce qu'on ne peut pas demander à des gens de négocier un arrêt des violences et en même temps découvrir qu'ils commettent des crimes de guerre et qu'ils vont continuer à commettre des crimes de guerre. Ou alors c'est reculer complètement de 20 ans. Donc je voudrais savoir jusqu'où on va aller. Est-ce que l'Union européenne va déclarer que effectivement les talibans ne sont pas une partie qu'on peut reconnaître tant qu'ils n'ont pas fait amende honorable et traîné devant les tribunaux les gens qui ont commis des crimes de guerre? C'est une question que je me pose, sincèrement. Je sais que c'est très difficile de répondre, mais on ne peut pas négocier avec des gens qui sont des monstres. Ou alors, il n'y a plus rien à faire. Et donc, quelle solution acceptable on peut avoir avec ce genre-là? Et ma troisième question, je sais pour avoir rencontré M. Borrell qui dit que l'Union européenne voulait maintenir effectivement une présence en Afghanistan, mais que pour maintenir une présence en Afghanistan, il fallait assurer sa sécurité. Donc il faut assurer la sécurité de l'aéroport, il faut assurer la sécurité effectivement des représentations des organisations internationales. On a vu que les talibans n'ont pas hésité à perpétrer un attentat contre une agence de l'ONU. Qui va assurer cette sécurité? Les forces afghanes? Faut-il laisser un contingent et obtenir un contingent de l'opération de l'OTAN qui n'a pas complètement encore quitté les lieux? Est-ce que vous êtes en négociation pour ça, pour savoir qui va assurer cette sécurité pour permettre un minimum de présence européenne? Merci.
Je pense que je vais passer ma journée sur le podium aujourd'hui. Merci Christian. Pour ta première question, je n'ai aucune réponse à cette question et surtout pas à celle d'ouvrir un guichet au niveau de la délégation européenne pour donner des visas. Comme tu l'as dit si bien, c'est une question qui revient aux États membres et donc ce n'est pas à moi de te répondre là-dessus. Je pense que Adalbert, en se référant à moi, il voulait simplement parler de ce qu'on fait en général si tu veux, c'est la réponse que je viens de répondre. Je viens de répondre à cette question à ton collègue. C'est en fait sur ce qu'on fait en général pour essayer de trouver une solution pacifique à la situation en Afghanistan, qui est une situation qui est qui est déplorable, surtout à tous les niveaux. En ce qui concerne ce que tu disais sur notre engagement et sur le fait qu'on parle avec les différentes parties, il faut aussi comprendre qu'on parle dans un cadre qui est très clair, c'est le cadre des discussions de Doha. C'est des discussions qui sont Afghan-led, c'est-à-dire que ce sont les Afghans qui doivent régler leurs problèmes en Afghanistan. Et nous, on est là pour essayer de trouver une solution avec et dans ce cadre particulier. Comme tu le sais, nous avons des sanctions qui sont imposées par et nous implémentons, nous mettons en œuvre les sanctions qui sont adoptées par les Nations Unies contre les talibans et les individuels groupes qui sont là-bas. Et nous sommes aussi très engagés à trouver une solution pour que l'Afghanistan devienne un pays stable et prosperous. On fait ce qu'on peut au niveau politique, au niveau de l'aide humanitaire, au niveau de l'aide au développement. Nous sommes présents en Afghanistan et je pense qu'il est très important de discuter, de pouvoir trouver une solution à ce sujet. Maintenant, il s'agit de crimes de guerre. On est vocal, on parle avec les Afghans, mais on essaye de trouver des solutions internationales avec nos partenaires, que ce soit avec l'OTAN, avec les autres pays, et nous sommes très engagés. Je ne sais pas si je réponds un minimum à ta question, parce que j'imagine que tu attends quelque chose de plus comprehensive, mais à ce stade, je ne pense pas que je puisse en dire plus. Voilà.
Merci beaucoup. Christian, tu as un follow-up?
Oui, très bref. Est-ce que vous êtes en discussion pour assurer la sécurité de la représentation et de l'aéroport?
Comme je te l'ai dit, Christian, je pense avant, nous sommes très préoccupés par la situation sécuritaire et nous sommes toujours en train de discuter de la situation sécuritaire, que ce soit de la délégation ou autre en Afghanistan. Ce sont des mesures qu'on prend très au sérieux et donc oui, nous sommes très préoccupés par la situation et nous prenons les mesures nécessaires pour assurer la sécurité de la délégation.
Merci. On continue avec les questions sur Afghanistan. Christian, tu as encore un follow-up? J'espère que c'est la dernière sur ce sujet. Sinon, vous pouvez bien sûr continuer bilatéralement aussi. S'il te plaît, Christian.
Oui, très bref. Est-ce que vous envisagez d'évacuer les personnels non nécessaires?
Comme je te l'ai dit à plusieurs reprises, Christian, la sécurité de la délégation est une priorité pour nous. Après, pour tout ce qui est mesures de sécurité, ça reste confidentiel et donc je ne peux pas en parler de ce podium.
Merci beaucoup. Je vois que nous n'avons plus d'autres questions sur Afghanistan, donc on continue avec autre question pour Nabila. Jacobo, s'il te plaît.
I forgot to ask you a question. Whether it's correct that yesterday the External Service has summoned the Belarus chargé d'affaires, and if this is correct, who exactly he or she met, what was the message, and finally, if you have a name for the chargé d'affaires of Belarus. Thanks.
The Belarus chargé d'affaires in Brussels indeed has been summoned, called by the EES yesterday. An EES senior official conveyed the EU's strong concerns and clear position that instrumentalization of migrants and refugees is utterly unacceptable. These practices must stop. And Belarus must respect its international commitment in combating irregular migration and human trafficking and migrant smuggling. Further to the statement of the HRVP on behalf of the EU issued on the 30th of July, the chargé d'affaires was summoned by the EU to protest the Belarusian current actions and to remind Belarus of its international obligation in the field of the irregular migration and human trafficking. As for the name of the chargé d'affaires, I would invite you to ask the Belarus state authorities.
Thank you. I would now ask you to raise your hand if you have questions on the situation in Belarus. We have Mose next. Please, Mose.
In fact, it's not about Belarus, but I'm waiting to ask a question to Nabila, if I may. So I would like to take the opportunity while she still is at the podium. It has to do with the Palestinian refugees and the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees. I just wonder if the Action Service has signed or renewed its, let's say, partnership with this organization in a so-called joint statement or declaration, because we know that its Commission General visited Brussels a month ago, I think. The purpose was just to sign such a new statement together with the Action Service. Thank you.
I think this is more for Anna or even for Balázs, but I'm not sure if it's refugees.
Very good. So let me check first if there are any other questions for Nabila. I'm not sure you want me to ask this, but I will anyway. Please. That does not seem to be the case. So thank you, Nabila. On the question of Mose now on the issue regarding the
Palestinian and the UNHCR.
Yeah, exactly. I would see if Anna has an answer for you. Anna, please. Just see that Anna is trying to connect. Here you are.
Hi, thanks so much for the question. Hi, thank you so much for the question. Mose, I'm happy to check if there's any changes that we're not aware of, but I don't think that the agreement has been signed yet. In any case, you know that the EU and the member states as such are the biggest funders of UNRWA, and we're happy to check if there's any new developments when it comes to the financial arrangement. But to my knowledge, no. And in any case, you know that we tend to make public, of course, when we are making financial contributions public. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Thanks a lot. I would now ask if there are any more questions to Anna regarding her files. This does not seem to be the case, so I come back to you, Regina, please.
It was not answered. I repeat it again. Could this situation on the Judiciary Council of Spain affects the conditionality for Spain to receive the Next Generation funds?
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry it was a long wait indeed. But since this question is answered by Ariana, I'll pass the floor to her and hope that the connection works.
Good morning. I hope you can hear me and see me better today. Let's see if it works. I'm hopeful. So what I can say is that, as you know, the Commission has recommended to Council to approve the the Recovery and Resilience Plan of Spain. The Council has indeed adopted the implementing decision on the Spanish plan. So we are now ready to proceed, like with the other member states. The pre-financing of the 13% will come in the following weeks. let me remind you some of the elements of the Spanish plan. So the plan presented a comprehensive and balanced package of reforms and investments with individual measures, reforms, several different measures. This included measures to address the labor market segmentation, measures to support the sustainability of public finances, to reform the pension system, to modernize the public administration, including digitalization of key public services such as the justice sector, public employment services, public health data, and territorial administration. It also envisaged measures to improve the business environment in Spain, and very important sectoral reforms such as in the energy market and the education sector and in the areas of skills and social policies. So these were the areas covered by the Spanish plan. What I can also remind you is that, as I said, now we will look into the pre-financing of Spain, which should come hopefully soon. We explained on Tuesday how it works with the signature of the loan and financing agreements. After the pre-financing part will be paid, so the 13%, the Commission will authorize further disbursements based on the satisfactory fulfillment of the milestones and targets outlined in the Council implementing decision. So this will reflect the actual progress in the implementation of the investments and reforms. However, the investments and reforms that Spain needs to fulfill are those that are included in the plan, that have been approved in the Council decision, and the ones that I was mentioning before.
Thank you very much, Ariana. Are there any other questions to Ariana? That doesn't seem to be the case. So we move on to any other topics. See that Philippe had a question on vaccination. Please, Philippe. There seems to be an issue with your mic source, Philippe. If you can check that.
I am checking this.
Yes.
Are you hearing? Is this okay?
Please go ahead.
Hello.
Please go ahead.
Yes, okay. It's about the differences in vaccination rates in the European Union. Some countries are doing quite well, like Flanders, part of Belgium here, with 80%. And then you have countries like Bulgaria, where the vaccination rate is about 17% only. What's the message of the European Commission concerning these low rates? And can the Commission impose something to those countries to get higher vaccination rates?
Thank you, Philippe. For that, I will move back to Ariana, please.
Hello, indeed, resetting on a different topic. So what I can say is that it is crucial that we continue to closely follow the vaccination rates in the different member states. We have set a target of full vaccination of 70% of the EU adult population, which is necessary to build immunity against the virus, as you know very well. It is very important that all member states work towards this target. As long as the virus is not defeated in all member states and even beyond, the virus is simply not defeated. This is something we're very well aware of. We have announced 2 weeks ago that a sufficient number of doses had been delivered to member states to allow them to reach target. And as announced, I believe last week, we have reached an important milestone, which is 70% of EU adults have received at least one dose. However, of course, the work continues. Member states should quickly administer the vaccines which have been delivered to them to ensure the full vaccination of the population. This is crucial. The EMA has reminded us just yesterday of how important it is that the population is fully vaccinated. This has, continued to be underlined by EMA as also a way to tackle variants, because full vaccination offers the best protection possible against the virus and variants, and also on transmissibility. This is why we need to address vaccine hesitancy very strongly. we have a recommendation on the preparation of the vaccine strategy adopted in October 2020, which already drew the attention to tackling vaccine hesitancy through clear information campaigns. This has become even more important given the fueled misinformation that we see happens at times. We fully support member states with information and material to be used in their information campaigns, so it's something we provide them with, drawing the attention specifically, as I was saying, on the importance of the scientific approach, which always lies at the basis of all our recommendations. Finally, Commissioner Kyriakides continues to visit member states across the EU as part of our ongoing efforts and the Commissioner's commitment to support the rollout of national COVID vaccination campaigns in member states.
Thanks a lot. We move on to the questions on vaccination. Please.
Hello again. Okay, a couple of questions. French minister this morning says France is looking at launching a COVID health pass for non-EU citizens from next Monday, which is becoming necessary because France, like increasingly other countries, are using the COVID passes for access to trains, to restaurants, to cafes, to museums, to everything. Is there scope for this to be wider than just a national prerogative, that this should be at an EU level, given that the EU COVID pass is EU? I understand it's a legislative instrument, but still. Second question, the United States is looking finally at reopening its borders to fully vaccinated travelers, something the EU, the Commission has said it's been in constant contact with Washington about. My question is, if the US does this with fully vaccinated travelers, are they going to do it like the EU does and say that they will only accept the vaccines that they are using, which excludes AstraZeneca? What is your feedback on that?
Thanks a lot. It's a little bit difficult here from the point of view that that would be, both of those questions are for Adalbert, so we'll come back in a moment, just finish with all the health aspects that Ariana can take, and then we'll come back because Adalbert anyway has the question on the Iraqi visa issues as well. So, Mose, please, your question on the vaccines.
Giving me the floor again, and this is my main question today about vaccinations. I think it was raised also yesterday. It's about so-called booster campaigns. I mean, giving a third shot of the vaccine to certain risk groups, people with a low, let's say, immune defense, or elderly people above 60. It has already started. Some countries and some EU member states, I think, also planning to start such booster campaigns in the September or later this year, at least for those people who received Astra, maybe also for others who were vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine. But the thing is, it's also a moral question besides the scientific issue, whether there is a need for such a third shot. And the moral question is whether rich countries, such member states, should start such campaigns while the vaccination rate in poor countries, Africa and so on, is very, very low. And that was what, as you know, the director of the World Health Organization said yesterday, that he asked the rich countries to postpone their booster campaigns until the end of September, when he thought that would be enough, let's say, to vaccinate, reach the goal of at least 10% of the people in all the other countries in the world. My question is then, I mean, what do you think about that? Is that a realistic goal? Should member states who already now have, let's say, sufficient vaccine doses to start booster campaigns, should they wait, postpone them? That's my question. Would it make any difference for the vaccination rates in poor countries if we did that? Have you assessed that? And are you still waiting, let's say, for scientific advice from the ECDC or EMA about the need for a third shot? Thank you.
Thank you, Mose. Ariana, please.
Hoping that technology continue to assist me today. Let's see if it continues to work. Okay, so Mose, to prepare for the future, we are drawing lessons from the first phase of the pandemic and of our response to the pandemic. For this reason, we need to continue ensuring the availability of sufficient vaccines also in the coming years, catering for the possible need of booster jabs if confirmed by scientific evidence, and for also the emergence of new variants. Let me just remind you, if I can briefly, that just yesterday we have approved a contract, an advance purchase agreement with Novavax for the purchase of 200 million doses in the coming years. So our efforts to continue the diversification and availability of vaccines in the future is an ongoing effort of the Commission. Coming back to your question, the choice of whether to administer a booster dose lies with the Member States. As always, we encourage scientific-based decisions in line with the advice of the European Medicines Agency. As I was saying a moment ago, yesterday the EMA has published a statement recalling the importance of full vaccination for protecting those at highest risk of severe diseases and hospitalization, reducing the spread of the virus, and preventing the emergence of new variants of concern. It has also underlined that vaccines prevent severe diseases to a large extent and greatly reduce the number of people in hospital due to COVID-19. Having said this, we continue our joint effort with Member States to ensure full vaccination for EU citizens, but this effort goes hand in hand with our commitment to global solidarity in this pandemic. This is very much at the heart of our action of the Commission and of the Member States. Purchasing and distributing vaccines is part of our broader strategy of ensuring solidarity with the rest of the world. We have always said from the beginning of the pandemic that the virus is not defeated if it's not defeated everywhere. The EU has been at the forefront of the global common response in cooperation with the WHO and other key partners, and of course we remain fully committed to this endeavor. We have exported around half of the vaccines produced in Europe to more than 130 countries in the world, as much as we have delivered to the European citizens. Furthermore, Team Europe is also a leading contributor with close to 3 billion euros for the COVAX facility to help secure at least 1.8 billion doses for 92 low and lower middle income countries. Around 153 million doses have been delivered by COVAX to 137 countries. This is a great collective achievement, but we are fully aware that to overcome the pandemic, as I was saying, it's crucial to speed up vaccination campaigns everywhere, all around the world. To complement the COVAX effort, the President von der Leyen has announced that Team Europe will be sharing more than 200 million doses of vaccines secured under the EU's advance purchase agreements, the ones I was mentioning before, to low and middle income countries until the end of the year. And this, in particular through COVAX, is of course part of the EU's sharing efforts.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Francesca.
Next question is
Francesco, please.
uh,
For a moment. It should be all right. If you could try again, Francesco, please. It's been a while, but Francesco, if you could push the speak button, please.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, great, fantastic. Sorry. No, just a little follow-up to what Arianna just said. So thanks, Arianna. You just repeated to us the EU, claims about what the EU has done for global solidarity, etc. I was just wondering whether you think that starting a campaign for boosters now in September in EU countries is when there is still not yet scientific evidence, sufficient scientific evidence that they are needed. Do you think that this campaign for boosters is compatible with the EU claims on global solidarity, given that there isn't enough vaccine for the world now, and that will be the situation for months? So is that compatible or not? Thanks.
And for the colleagues in the room, no need to evacuate. First Thursday of the month. Ariana, maybe we wait a second.
I'll let it finish. Okay.
In the house, maybe needs a longer time. Fine, go ahead, Ariana, please.
Okay, sorry. I was trying to wait for the alarm to finish. So maybe I can try to clarify again. We are signing advance purchase agreements. This is because we have been learning from the first phases of the response to the pandemic. This is to make sure that we have sufficient doses in a timely manner and to cater for possible emergence of variants. These advance purchase agreements, as you know, include the possibility, for example, the Pfizer one that we have signed in May, to donate the doses to third countries in need if the member states decide to do so. And the 200 million doses that the president has announced will be, our aim is to donate with the help of member states, of course, because it's member state doses is, part of this advanced purchase agreements. What I can say about the booster doses is what I have already said before. The decision to administer booster doses lies with vaccines. As always, we encourage scientific-based decisions in line with the EMA's advice. And just yesterday, EMA has published a statement in which it has recalled the need of ensuring full vaccination. Full vaccination in this moment, according to the EMA's position, but of course it's best to double check with them, refers to 2 doses for Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca vaccines, while 1 dose for Johnson & Johnson. So this is the advice that EMA has given so far. And of course, as I said, the choice possibly lies with member states. This is different from securing sufficient doses for us and for the possibility of supporting global solidarity efforts that have been ongoing since the start of the pandemic and will continue to be very strong action by the Commission also in the future.
Thank you, Ariana. Mose,
Thank you, Ariana.
Mind a kind of follow-up question, what Ariana said, also to me first, about this new assessment update by EMA and also ECDC. Yesterday I also read it and noticed that they recommend, of course, full vaccination, which means 2 or 1 doses depending on the vaccine. But the question is now, as you said yourself, that it takes a decision based on scientific advice from these expert agencies. And the issue now is whether there is a need or not of a 3rd dose, considering the spread of the Delta variant, and also, let's say, figures were being published showing that, let's say, the immunity protection or defense is gradually decreasing, especially among elderly people after up to half a year. So the question is now whether we can expect EMA and ECDC to publish a new report soon, because it seems to be quite urgent, let's say, in view of the increase of infections everywhere by the Delta variant. If we can expect them to publish an assessment about that need, and irrespective, of course, the other issue which was raised now about the deliveries of vaccines to COVAX. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I think Ariana went into details already about what the steps are that have been taken by the agencies and what our position is. When it comes to the next steps that the CDC and the EMA would do, that of course is a question best asked from them. Are there any other questions for us today on the vaccines? This does not seem to be the case. Then, if you allow me, I would call Adalbert back to answer the question on the travel to the US, please.
Thank you, Nabila. Vivian, I apologize. Nabila's on my mind. So about, I think there were actually two questions for me to answer. One about the proof of vaccination, also for domestic purposes, but for people who are not EU citizens or residents, and the other one about travel to the US. So about the first issue, we have legislated for one type of proof of vaccination in the EU, recognized throughout the Union, and that is the EU COVID certificate. There is a possibility provided for in the regulation for the EU digital COVID certificate to be also delivered not only to people who live in the EU or who are EU citizens, but also to people who do not live in the EU. And that is something that can be done in two different ways. One is at the discretion of national authorities who can issue EU digital COVID certificates to people who bring any proof of vaccination somewhere else, and then the national authorities have to look at that proof. Or the second route is an equivalence decision whereby we then recognize automatically certificates issued by other countries. And for the moment, we have 3 such equivalence decisions that the Commission has adopted regarding Switzerland, Vatican, and San Marino. There are no plans to have an additional system to that. The system that we do have in place accommodates these different possibilities. And in fact, it is completely possible for member states to put in place a system in order to give EU digital COVID certificates to people who can duly prove the vaccination. And then, of course, if member states put in place if member states use any proof of vaccination in the domestic systems for any purpose, they should also accept EU digital COVID certificates for the same purposes in line with the EU digital COVID certificate regulation. So that, I believe that at least from my point of view, this is something that's handled, and the legal possibilities exist there. And of course, we work with a number of countries. Or the possibility is open for a number of for all countries who want it to obtain an equivalence decision, and we have of course received lots of interest in that. That's on that aspect. When it comes to the travel to the US for vaccinated travelers, you will not be surprised to hear me say that this is more a question to the United States. Of course, we're not really in a position to announce what the US want to do. As you know, we have a process in place with the US authorities, an expert group in which we can discuss these issues. For the moment, we are still waiting for a date from the US side for a third meeting of that expert group. So I don't have any fresh information to share on the intentions of the US authorities.
Thank you, Adalbert. Lorna, you had a question before. If you'd like to pose it again now that Adalbert's back. When Nabila was here, you had a question.
Yes, Adalbert, it was just on the implementing decision. I think you'd made a reference to it actually a couple of days ago that the Commission submitted in terms of Iraq, and it was an implementing decision about returns, or the return rate of acceptance of people. I just wonder where we stand with that. As far as the Commission's concerned, that's been submitted to the Council. They've got to deal with it in whatever way they see fit now, or was this part, I could easily see this being part of a negotiating process with Iraq to apply pressure. Essentially, that's what it's about, these reciprocity.
Makes sense. Thanks a lot. And it's indeed something I referred to some middays ago. The state of play is as follows. The Commission adopted a proposal for an implementing act on the 15th of July. And as you say, it is very much in the hands of the Council. The aim of this proposal is to make progress in our relations with the 3 countries concerned, specifically to improve cooperation on readmission. So the measure is not an end in itself. It has a specific objective, and of course the Council is now has the responsibility to act upon this proposal, also taking into account the broader relationships of the EU with those countries and any new developments that have been taking place. So it is of course now up to the Council to look into how to make progress on this.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions for us here today? This does not seem to be the case, so thank you very much. Have a nice afternoon. Our next midday is next Tuesday.